Now you must have indication that we recorded.
Oh yes, and I accepted.
That I have finished here at the American College Anatolia here in Thessaloniki. So I can say that we both have an American, I would say, imprint in our side, inside ourselves. And I have your book here.
Ah, thank you.
No, I didn't bought it these days. I have bought it when I first find out about you. Well, and I heard that when you're entering the Langley, you say, don't believe what you say. Is that true?
When I entered Langley?
Yeah, it says a sign, don't believe what you see.
No.
Is that...
It says, I only regret that I have but one life for my country.
Well, okay. So, and I have seen most of your interviews and your presentations. I have seen your participation on Democracy Now, and I'm following you all these 2 years or 3 maybe. I don't know when we became friends. You came up. I didn't know the existence of you, but I saw with Mr. Papachelas your interview. And I said, "Wow,
yes,
that was
years ago."
And I said, "Oh, I didn't know that we have a Greek guy working in Greece and things like that." And then I start to follow your agony, I must say, in various issues, not only on things like moralities or your ex-work or things like that, but also about democracy and about the dangers that we face in our times. And I'm thinking that it is not only in the USA that democracy is on crisis. It is also here in Greece, and I do believe also in Europe, in various ways. So please allow me. I have I wrote a few things, and then you can share your thoughts. One thing that is in times of crisis, it seems to be that it is so thin the layer of democracy, as it represents a system that creates in the international labor, international division of labor, and that it seems that when the financial crisis is actually arriving here in various countries like in USA, like in Greece, it seems that this worldwide inequality that's creating start eating the democracy also inside of the original, let's say, hegemonic countries like USA, like Britain, like and I was thinking that the crisis of 1928, 1933, it was also a crisis of democratic institutions in USA. It was also almost a coup that was tried at that time. It was also an attempt of assassination of President Roosevelt. And I was wondering if really you think that democracy is facing serious problems in USA and also in countries that was adapted, like Greece, for example.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think the answer is definitely yes. I think that democracy is under threat in the United States. You know, one of the things that's always been a mystery to me here is how few Americans realize how right-wing the country. For example, our Supreme Court is very conservative, and we've just banned, for all intents and purposes, we've banned abortion across most of the country. Now we're taking books out of the school system. because they mention things like slavery, for example. Slavery is a fact in American history. So people own human beings here. This is something we can't just pretend never happened. But in many states, especially in the southern United States, they ban any mention of slavery, they ban any mention of being gay, they ban any mention of women's rights. We had protests just yesterday because one of our largest military bases, Fort Bragg, changed its name to Fort Liberty. Now, Fort Bragg was named after a General Bragg who was a Southern general in the Civil War. He was a trooper, and he was a slave owner, and he was a racist. So why are we honoring him by naming the largest military base in America after him? And people protested because they wanted to keep the name. You know, we saw what happened on January 6th, and the people who participated in the January 6th riots are no less energized now. They really believe that the election was stolen from Donald Trump. They really wanted to kill Nancy Pelosi, and they would do it again if they had the opportunity. So I believe that democracy is under threat in the United States. It's under threat from the right wing, and it's something that we have to all be attuned to and aware of and to protect against.
Okay. Well, I don't know. It is one of my questions. Do you really think that Donald Trump was so great danger about United States citizenship, or it was maybe a way to create a division inside of the country? Why I'm saying that I was thinking about the division in United States. For example, it is that I was hearing, for example, in the World Economic Forum, various participators during the Trump presidency that were saying that USA will stop to be, the country that used to be as a power, as international power, as the top power in the world. And we see on these years that they have passed, in the last 2 years, for example, that, for example, US dollars has stopped, or not stopped, but has limited as a currency.
Yes.
First of all, on I think now it's 47%. 47 from 82 that was on 60s, for example. On the other hand, it seems that it has gone in a war that I don't know if we're going to live again a period as the Second World War here in Europe. But I was thinking that all these, for example, the green energy, the price, the cost of having green energy, that is huge comparing to conventional like oil or like petrol, and that also creates a huge. I don't know if it is really, it is a reality or not, you will tell me. For the middle class and for the poor people, life seems to be even more unbearable for going forward. It looks like to me there is middle class that is being destroyed slowly, especially after the period of coronavirus. And always a democracy stands on the middle class. I mean, as far as I know. And this is the things that I'm seeing, and I'm saying, well, it is really, they're trying to place the United States from the top most powerful country in the whole world, with its mistakes or with its good, because nothing comes straight good, but it really, the division that you are describing me is helping, because if the United States get out of the way, it will create a vacuum phenomenon. Someone has to fill it. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I wouldn't like for me personally to be the Chinese.
Yes.
I think you understand what I mean.
Yes.
So your thoughts on that?
Yes, I think that you've raised an important point here. And this is in part due to the short-sightedness of U.S. policy. An African diplomat told me once, when I was in Africa, still with the CIA, I was just visiting Africa, and he said, you Americans come here and you promise us democracy, but the Chinese come here and they promise us food. Which one would you take? And to me, it was a way of really encapsulating this whole issue in one sentence. Mm-hmm. One of the things that the United States has made serious mistakes about is our reliance on the military. We have a military budget of more than $800 billion. Mm-hmm. That's more than the next 9 largest countries in the world combined.
Yep.
Well, as a result, we don't give the kind of aid that the Chinese Belt and Road program calls for. Give the kind of that the Union provides. For example, it's building the water system in Sanaa, Yemen. And we don't even really do it cleanly, giving just the weapons. We give credit to American defense contractors, and then the recipient country uses those credits to buy weapons. Really, we're just subsidizing Mexican arms industry. So that's point number one. Number two is, I mentioned a minute ago how conservative this country is. One of the issues that comes out of that is that so many Americans are against any form of foreign aid. They hate the idea of giving away American taxpayer money to foreign countries. Now, without foreign aid, why would any country want to do anything for the United States? So when we go to these countries and we say, we want you to vote this way in the United Nations, or we want you to join us in Afghanistan, or we want you to support us on Libya, why would they if we refuse to give them anything? Now, if we're not giving them anything, and the Chinese are, who are they going to side with? They're going to side with the Chinese. You mentioned a moment ago how many fewer international transactions are using the dollar as the international currency. That's true. Just this year, Saudi Arabia and China made a deal for oil to be paid in yuan. The Kuwaitis made the same deal with China to pay in yuan. The Iranians pay in a basket of currencies that does not include the dollar. It includes all the other major currencies. The Russians, since the sanctions imposed on the Russians following the invasion of Ukraine, the Russians have been insisting that everything, all their business dealings be carried out in rubles, and that's worked. Now we have the Brazilian, the Argentine, the Uruguayan, possibly the Chileans, talking about a South American euro, for example, mm-hmm. where they wouldn't need the dollar anymore. This, to me, is the result of poor planning when managing an empire. All empires have an arc. The United States is on the back end of that arc. It's going down. And it's like as a government, we just don't see it. We don't see how we're denying ourselves things. For example, I don't know if you've ever been to the United States, Alexandre, but we have We have a train system that we should be embarrassed about.
What do you mean?
We have second and third world airports that we should be embarrassed by our airports. Our roads are a wreck. Our bridges are falling into the rivers below them because we spend all of our money on weapons. All of it.
Yeah,
almost half of the entire budget is spent on weapons.
Yes, but excuse me to interrupt you, but after the Second World War, yes, the army industry was the base of the development. Yes. I mean, that was the reality, that the army industry became the base of the American economy development and things like that. And
yes,
and I don't know, it got even worse with the war in Ukraine. And I was wondering, who wanted that war? Because it will deepen the division inside the United States. Let me ask you something. Sometimes I think that, let's say, the deep state, or whoever is that carrying the water for China in this.
Yes.
Because Russia and China was never, I mean, occasionally were in friendly relationships during the history. Wiping out Russia from the map or divide it in 4 pieces, who is gonna guarantee that these 4 pieces will not fall one after the other on the Chinese regime influence? I mean, you understand what I mean?
Yes, you're exactly right. You know, it's funny because much of the world, for exactly that reason, I think much of the world feels alone right now. Who do you trust? Who do you ally with? Is it the United States, which, as I said, is on the back side of that arc? You can't join with the Russians. They have serious problems of their own right now. And the Chinese, the deal that the Chinese have been giving everybody all these years with aid is not as good a deal as everybody thought it was. You know, the Africans, we had the president of the Democratic Republic of the Congo here a few months ago, and several of us met with him, and he was saying that they thought they were Chinese, and now they realized the Chinese, because the Chinese came in with all these ideas of aid, these very generous ideas of aid, and as it turns out, the Chinese want to take ownership of everything. And he said Chinese never meant the ownership when they were offering the money.
But they control. But they control most of the.
Very serious economic problem that lasted many years, and one of the things that they were forced to do was to sell ownership of several of the major ports, like in Milá, for example.
Yeah.
And now you have the Chinese that are running Milá. And I said, you know, that was supposed to have been a temporary thing. That was supposed to have been to help the Greek economy, and it was an improvement of relations between Greece and China. The Chinese intend to stay there forever.
Of course.
Maybe not militarily, but economically. And he said, yes, that's been covered.
Most of the rare earth mines are being exploited by the Chinese, in Africa. That is, I mean, has to do with semi-control, with all these advanced technology and things like that. It is under the Chinese, how do I say, operational apparatus, and that it is.
You're exactly right. And they're smarter than the Americans are.
I don't know if they're smarter. They're more methodical, and also no one can deny that. Unfortunately for the United States, it was the way that have been treated sometimes the third world. It is a shameful way, and I believe that is one problem of the issue today. Something like we're going to take a revenge of what you have done. Both also the European North countries that they used to be the ex-colonial, and now maybe it is the time they are taking the revenge. But you see, United States, like it or not, there was the guarantor of democratic institutions, and that it is in a period of jeopardizing everything. Maybe it is not only, I mean, sometimes when I see, I will tell you exactly how I see things, and so maybe I will be more understandable to you. For example, it is like we've been forced here in Europe to change all the prospect, all the way that we see human being. Transhumanism, biomedical, human mutation. It is something that they're trying to force in every, and no matter what kind of culture you have, no matter what kind of historical background you have, and it is I'm thinking that social Darwinism, for example, as a platform applied to socialists, applied to neoliberals, applied to the communists, applied to the Chinese Maoists, and right now it is like that. It is not a matter of humanity, of democracy, that the two or three systems are fighting each other. It is who will control this kind of power, or like a technocracy power with all these, or whatever Mr. Harari is mentioning, and who is going to control it. That is the kind of the two forces or the three forces. And right now, in my views, I believe maybe because of the historical background of Russia. Russia was not only a Soviet power, it was a Tsarist power. It has a long background in the history. It has definitely a kind of culture that this kind of movements need to eradicate this kind of culture. And that is maybe the reason that we have the war here in Ukraine. I don't know. I'm telling you my thoughts, because whatever happens here with censoring, for example, censoring is a huge problem, no matter if I'm speaking about Trump, or if I'm speaking about vaccinations, or if I'm speaking about, for example, agricultural production. Here in Europe, they are closing 3,000 farms in Holland, and they are they're paying, of course, this closing, these farms and the farmers, but also they sign a contract that will never go again and be farmer here in Europe or or there in Holland. Some things are changing forcibly, and really, honestly, because I'm deeply democratic, I believe that everyone should have his opinion. Everybody, I don't mind if you're gay or not. It is not a matter. Doesn't have to do with me. It is up to your freedom, whatever you want to do. You understand what I mean? And something is changing in huge force, and that change comes, for example, from the United States Embassy. It comes in from NATO. It comes all these change are coming not from someone behind the scenes. You see it, for example, and that is worrying me. And this is how I think about how I see the things. Maybe I'm wrong.
One of the things that people forget or ignore, and you've made a good point here, is how many moving parts are involved in carrying out a foreign policy. Because nothing really is bilateral. Everything is multilateral. And this is something that oftentimes, even at the very highest levels of government, we don't recognize and we don't plan for. We lament the fact here in the United States that it's harder for us now to maintain an empire than it has been at points in the past. That shouldn't be what the conversation is. The conversation should be how to reduce the poor, how to promote American manufacturing and business abroad, and that's just not what we're focused on. And it's the detriment over the long of the United States. We're seeing it everywhere. We're seeing it with countries, for example, like Or countries that are friendly with us, like Mexico, for example, or Brazil, telling us, we don't want any part of Ukraine more. This is your problem. It's not our problem. We're seeing it in countries around the world, for example, when we go to them and we complain about their human rights practices, and then they respond to us by saying, what about what you're doing in Yemen? You know? You're the ones that sell the Saudis and the Emiratis all the weapons and the jet fighters that are killing women and children. We're not doing that. You're doing it. And then the third part of that, at least in my view, is we also have, in many cases, poor leadership. I know Tony Blinken. I worked with Tony Blinken on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. He's a very nice man. But he owes his entire adult life to Joe Biden. Every job he's ever had in his life has been working for Joe Biden. So he's not the Secretary of State because he's the smartest, most forward-thinking strategist that the United States could identify. He's the Secretary of State because he's been friends with Joe Biden for the past 30 years. And he's worked for him. That's it. Yeah, I had dinner with the Russian, I had lunch with the Russian ambassador a week ago yesterday. And we were talking about Foreign Minister Lavrov. Mm-hmm. And I said, you know, when I was assigned to the United Nations, Lavrov was the Russian ambassador to the United Nations. And I said, all of us admired him because he was such a good diplomat. And he was working with so much less than what the other major Western ambassadors were working with. You know, the Ambassador Negroponte when I was there, and he had a $1 billion budget and the might of the United States behind him. You look at the British ambassador, the French, the Chinese, all of them had more than what Lavrov had. Yet he was seen as the most powerful, the most important, the most strategic ambassador at the United Nations. Well, why wasn't it the American ambassador? Because the American ambassador wasn't focused on diplomacy. The American ambassador was focused on America's many wars around the world. And that catches up with us after a while. After a while, other countries begin to overtake us economically. The Chinese, this Belt and Road thing has been going on for decades. The Chinese have been very deliberate and very quiet about it.
Yeah.
They don't hold it in our faces like we do military sales, everybody else. And look what's happened. They've overtaken us. So they were able to work with parts better than we were.
Do you think that have influenced the inside policy of the United States? Because, I mean, after, especially during Clinton and after the Clinton presidency, the relationship with China and the United States became so close. I mean, not only culturally, but on technological advantages or things like that. I mean, all this breakup came suddenly, for example, 2 years ago. You understand what I mean? Especially during the last presidential elections of the United States. Suddenly, it appeared to be something hostile, a thing or a relationship that used to be so sweet and cooperative.
Yes, and let me add something to that. There are, no matter how bad things get between the United States and China, or the United States and Russia, they can still co-op in different areas. And I mentioned this to the Russian ambassador. I don't care how hot the war gets, we can still cooperate on counterterrorism, counter-narcotics, and counter-proliferation. We should be able to set aside other differences in order to cooperate on these issues that are important not just for us, but for everybody in the world. And I said, when I was stationed in Afghanistan, one of the things that I learned very, very early on was that Afghanistan produces 93% of the world's heroin. And almost all of that heroin, almost all of that heroin goes to Russia and Iran. They have the highest heroin addiction rate in the world. Well, the United States has a heroin problem too. And this is an area where we can cooperate. That has nothing to do with politics, and it has nothing to do with fighting a hot war.
Now, make a question now.
Mm-hmm.
Before Taliban take the power 20 years ago, they have eradicated. No, after the Taliban took the power, they have eradicated. Afghanistan used to be the producer of Popeye and heroin of 80% of the world production. They diminished to 5%, as far as I remember. And then suddenly a war begins in Afghanistan. And then I'm seeing photos, and I don't know if the photos are real or not. I see British and American soldiers guarding the Popeye fields. And I say,
yes.
Well, this war did happen to protect the production, or you understand what I mean? I mean, you know that.
And I'll add something to that. I went to Afghanistan in 2011 when I was with the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. John Kerry was the chairman, and I went to do a study on heroin production. So I flew to Bagram Air Base, and they took a helicopter to the village of Lashkar Gah in Helmand province. And so I said, I want to talk to a poppy farmer, heroin poppy. Oh, that's a very bad idea. I said, no, it's important for my study. I have to do this. So we drove out to Lashkar Gah, and we see a farmer out in the field taking care of his poppy. And we got out. It was jeeps, 4 or 5 jeeps. And I had a translator with me. So we were talking, and I said to him, and it's funny in retrospect. It wasn't funny at the time, but now it's funny. I said, why don't you grow things that have 2 growing seasons, like onions or pomegranates or tomatoes?
To eat.
It was like this. He said, the Americans told me in 2001 that if I told them where the Arabs were hiding, I could grow all the poppy I wanted. And now you come here and you tell me I can't grow poppy?
You're pulling my leg
now.
And
I said, what American told you you could grow poppy? And my military handler said, that's it, we have to go. It's too dangerous here, we have to go. Everybody in the jeeps. So I put in my report, I believe the American military is protecting the poppy farmers. I don't know why,
you know,
but they're doing it.
I will tell you something. Taking in account, for example, on World War II,
yes.
CIA or OSS at that time,
yes.
it has a close relation with the Italian mafia, so they could help them and did help them to make the taking of Sicily.
Yes.
And then after OSS turned to CIA, we see that the American mafia, because it didn't have the ability to rebuild its empire in the United States, it built it to Cuba.
Yes.
And we see that on the background, mafia and CIA cooperating, helping Somoza, I think, was the...
years.
And now, you know, it was also with Oliver North, the Iran-Iraq gate, Contras scandal. It seems to be that we see something, but also underneath, or maybe on the black operations, not all the CIA, maybe a part of it, but a very strong one, is going along with the international drug cartel, or, you know, it puzzles me many times when I read these contradictions between war against drugs, and on the other hand, I mean, it was something very serious concerning Mexico or Escobar. And then I'm finding out the following thing, that Escobar was keeping so much real money, 32 billion US dollars in various areas, when the United States had printed $200 billion. I mean, he was keeping real money, you understand, about money fragmentation, and that was a huge problem. I mean, he was creating, let's say, inflation in the United States, because you don't print the money that is circulating, you're printing only part of it, a fragmentation. And then, of course, you're going to take out Escobar, you know, because he has literally one tenth or whatever it was, this 33 billion at the time. I mean, it was huge, real money. And I say,
the actual cash.
Yeah, the actual cash. And I say, okay, was this the reason that they took out Escobar and they brought on the front the Cali cartel?
Cali cartel, the gentlemen of Cali.
Yes, when you are, this is the way that I'm reading history, and this is why I enjoy it so much that now I'm talking with you, and this is, it's getting possible. I mean, what is real and what is not real, what is true and what is not true. So, what your thoughts are on that?
Well, people have asked me that question many times over the years, and there's an easy answer, but it's a little bit cynical. The CIA has never cared about drugs. They don't care at all. They don't care if everybody in the world is addicted to drugs. For most of their existence, they cared about communism. They wanted to stop communism. And if they could convince the communist rebels in Colombia or Venezuela to help them, then
cultivate as much cocaine you want. We don't mind.
There's a television series here in the United States on Netflix. Maybe you saw it. It's called Narcos.
Yeah, of course I saw it. Yeah.
Well, it's written from the DEA perspective. And China says they're going to go catch Pablo Escobar. Just as they're going to catch the Cali cartel, the CIA station chief is there and he fucks up the whole race.
Freeze it, yeah.
Those stories are true. And it's because the CIA is working with the cartel to communist rebels. They don't care. That's DEA.
Okay, let me ask you something. Now, what is okay, you're not cynical, you are immoral. Is that just totally different? Because when you fight communism, for example, what I mean is the strangulation or the, how to say, whatever is strangling human liberty, you are standing from a high moral point.
Yes.
Okay? And so you should serve this kind of values and morality. If you are sabotaging these things, and then it is logical that it's gonna influence you. It will corrupt you eventually. I think.
Yes, and you have to ask, what kind of country do you want to be? Do you want to be the shining beacon of hope for democracy and civil rights and civil liberties and human rights, or do you not? Do you want to be the world's arms dealer that allows for trafficking, international trafficking, because of your obsession with communism? You have to ask what kind of country you want to be, because you can't be both. It has to be one or the other. The United States has never made that choice. They want to be both. They want to go to embassy and tell people, you need to respect human rights, and you need to respect the rights of the minorities, and you need to respect religious tolerance. And then at the same time, we have secret prisons and torture programs and assassination squads, and kidnapping teams.
You're talking about
Which one?
You're talking about the secret services in the United States. I don't know if it's about CIA or about FBI. You're talking about that kind of apparatus existing?
No, I'm talking about things that the CIA does. Where, I'll give you another example. There's a real life example. I was working in a Middle Eastern country, and I was the human rights officer.
Human? You were human...
rights officer.
Human rights officer. Okay.
So it was my job at the embassy to monitor human rights of that country, and I had to write reports for Congress every year.
Okay.
So there was a pro-democracy demonstration. The police arrested a 15-year-old boy, and they took him to the police station, and they beat him to death. They killed him. And then they called his father and said, come to the police station and pick up the body.
Okay.
So I went to see the Minister of Interior, and I said, Your Highness, you cannot beat a 15-year-old to death for participating in a pro-democracy march, a peaceful demonstration. I said, I have to report this to Congress, and this may jeopardize your arms purchases from us. They were buying F-16s at the time. 15 minutes later, I leave. And the CIA station chief comes for a meeting. And he says, don't listen to what the human rights guy is telling you. We want you to open a prison for us so we can torture people here. Or better, you torture them, and then you give us a report of everything that they say, and we'll give you $100 million. So who is he going to listen to? Is he going to listen to me? Or is he going to listen to the station?
Were you always a ramblefish?
Say that again?
You were always a ramblefish, or it came as you were growing up?
You know what?
Really, I mean, that's a logical question.
No, it was not when I was growing up. I was always the good boy. I was always the one who wanted to be adults and do the right thing and get good grades and go to a good school and get a good job happily ever after.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to the point where, I got to the CIA and I started to see things that were happening, and I thought to myself, this is wrong, wrong, wrong. This is against the law. It's a violation of human rights. Somebody has to say something. So I waited. Who's going to say something? And then nobody says anything. I'll give you another example. The night that we captured Abu Zubaydah in Faisalabad, Pakistan,
mm-hmm.
we caught dozens.
It was 14 houses different attack, as I remember. Yeah.
There were so many Al-Qaeda fighters we caught that night, we couldn't keep them all in the safe house. So we put them all in the jail in Faisalabad, and we were bringing them to the safe house 10 at a time for interrogation. Well, the first group of 10 came, and one of my colleagues brought them in, and they all had hoods on. Their heads were covered. And I said, why do they have hoods? And he said, we don't want them to see our face. I said, are you seriously telling me that you have never read the Geneva Convention? You can't put hoods on them. It's a war crime. Take those hoods off. And he said, if you take those hoods off, I'm going to report you to headquarters. And I said, oh, I'm going to report you to headquarters for committing a war crime. Take those hoods off. And I pulled the hoods off. We reported each other to headquarters. And I got in trouble.
Of course you're going to get in trouble. Are you serious? Of course you will be the one who's going to be punished. No, really, I mean, okay. I see that, I have sensed that you're a really smart person. I don't believe that you are naive. And I believe that also the training that you get when you're working for such huge and so famous company, whatever, how you're going to call it, it's something really beyond the limits of an average person. I'm not saying that everyone has to be genius, but you have to be above average in many ways to handle things on a field. Okay, maybe as an analyst, you just need your brain. You don't need the other things. But anyway, so it is surprising me that really surprised me, because first of all, the Geneva Convention is about recognized combatants. It's not about that kind of prisoners. So, and also, I have found out the manual of enhanced derogation, and I read it all. It was surprising me. You do that waterboarding, for example. How you call it?
Waterboarding.
Yeah. 10 seconds, then 20 seconds you leave it, and then you can do it twice a week, for example, and you can do it. You're gonna keep a guy in a cold water these minutes, and this is how many times you can do it that, and you can do it not the next week, the week after. It was huge, sophisticated scientific analysis on the ability of the human body to take to the limits and break it. Amazing. It's amazing. I don't know, maybe when you're fighting terrorists that you have created, taking advantage, taking in account that Al Qaeda was created by the United States, maybe you need this kind of methods.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think that they keep working and using this manual?
I think probably no. Only because the real answer is we don't know. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
I think probably no, because at the very end of the Obama administration, President Obama ordered that the CIA respect the rules that were laid out in the Army Field Manual. Mm-hmm. And the Army Field Manual says,
yes, it's
this
different.
is what you do, and this is what you can't do, and this is how you have to do it. That's great, but the Army Field Manual is an executive branch document. And so the executive branch, the office of the president, they can change the rules anytime they want. Mm-hmm. And they can classify the change so that the rest of us don't know it's been changed. So I like to think that we're not pushing people more like we do, but I don't know that that's the case.
Because I think this is what you have paid. On your 23 months, it was 23 months finally. It is a funny book in many ways. Yeah, a really good one. I didn't read the other one. That you have read. The Reluctant Spy.
Yes.
No, I didn't read it. Where you read it, I have it here with me. Spies Like Us. Can I ask you a few questions about 17th of November?
Sure.
Okay. Now, a few days ago, I don't know if it came to your attention, was a guy that was working with Richard Welch at that time, that he wrote a book about the assassination.
Yes.
And,
Tom Ellis.
I beg your pardon? Yeah.
Tom Ellis.
Yeah. And because of my nature, I was always reading and analyzing anything that had to do with 17th of November. And so let me see the question how I have read it, because it has to be in a way that you can probably answer it. There is an extensive number of books and articles that connect, for example, Brigate Rossi with secret services, especially because of the assassination of Aldo Moro. So I sometimes I have asked myself, and I will give you the reasons that I am asking, that probably a part of 17th of November was actually working, knowing or not knowing, for secret services. Why I say that? There are some assassinations that actually look like clean some competition, for example. We are cleaning an old card of people, like in the press or on the arm dealing, and creating a vacuum that will be fulfilled later by new incomers on that. And all that contracts under the, let's say we do it because we are anti-Americans, we are anti-capitalist, and we are doing what our moral... Yeah, okay. Now, as I was reading the assassination of Mr. Richard Wells, when I read the unauthorized biography of George Bush, it was a surprise for me that in a period of months, first of all, George Bush became director of Central Intelligence Agency,
yes,
breaking what the Democrats didn't want him, because I think there were some checks that were being found on the hands of the burglars of the Watergate that were coming from a Bush company, and also dissolve the two Pike and Church Commission that not only were looking about the whereabouts of CIA, but also they were on the procedure to impeach Mr. Kissinger.
yes.
So, and that happened in a month, and also I read that he was buried in the Arlington cemetery,
yes,
something that has to do with the military, not with officers of, no matter who we were. And then I really asked myself, it's something that we can see as cui bono. It means that did they did in a cooperation with KGB? You know, I mean, I have read few, for example, how Khrushchev took out from Soviet Union. It was a cooperation between the United States Secret Service and KGB, because KGB gave the memoir of Khrushchev, and then they were printed here in the West, and then they import back to so the Russian people to know what is Stalinism is about. So I said to myself, and really thought, did they be used by the secret services? Also, it's the way how they were caught up. And
yeah,
this is my first question. If you can answer, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You probably saw in the book that the night that Welch was killed, one of the CIA officers had to be physically restrained, held back, because he wanted to go to the Russian embassy and kill the KGB resident.
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning, when I say beginning, I mean just those first few days after Welch was killed.
Mm-hmm.
There was a school of thought that this was the KGB that had. The Russians reached out to us, and they said, "Listen, promise, it wasn't us." Now, in Mexico that night, there just happened to be a man walking his dog when Welch was killed. I found that man in 1998. He was the Bulgarian defense attaché.
He was the Bulgarian attaché. Okay.
The Bulgarian attaché. And I went to Bulgaria to interview him. And he said he heard the shot, but he didn't know where it came from. And then he thought, oh, it must. He said, but I can hear you. It was not.
It was not us.
And then I went to Romania with other CIA officers. The Romanians, the Bulgarians, both opened us, just opened them. Come and look at anything you want. So we took some translators from CIA headquarters. We looked at everything they had. There was no involvement of secret services. And then, of course, in the days after Welch's killing, you know the whole story with Jean-Paul Sartre and the manifesto.
Next year.
Yeah, it's a famous story now. And that's when we started looking. I'll tell you also that from 1975, from December 23rd, 1975 until 1999, we had probably 5,000 names in our CIA databases of possible Βασανιστήρια members, because we didn't know who was in this group. Their security was so good. They were so secretive in their information. So out of all those names, we had like 3 of them right, and the others were mystery tools.
Okay.
But even with the ones that we had right, just didn't know where they were. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. The bottom line is, it was only a very short period of time that we thought secret services were involved in Welch's killing. We believed the Russians when they told us they had nothing to do with it. You see, because we had an agreement with the Russians.
Yeah, of course, you don't kill high value assets. Understandable.
Yeah, you don't kill our people, we won't kill your people.
Yeah.
It was as simple as that.
Yeah.
And that's why we were able to operate in the same cities at the same time for all those decades, because we had agreed, like gentlemen, that we would not kill each other. So they came to us immediately and said, we promise it was not us. And then, as we did the investigation, there was no evidence that the Russians were involved. Just nothing.
I didn't mean that the Russians were involved. I meant if it was an inside job, because...
No. The CIA doesn't do that. We hear that a lot. The inside job.
Question.
You kill your own people to what's the French word for it? It's argent provocateur.
Okay, all right.
Now, we don't do it.
Because
we would rather kill somebody else.
Of course. I know you have to kill me after we finish that conversation. Well, because the first question that came in my mind, it was how did they knew who was the CIA controller in?
No, that's an easy one.
How do you know the face? What he's saying? Because this is not a kind of a tip or information you can find it. You don't know now. How about in 1970?
No. It was different then. The CIA had an officer who went rogue. His name was Philip Agee.
Philip Agee.
Right. So Philip Agee published a covert action newsletter, it was called, and he listed the names of all of the CIA
It was also Richard Welch, so
that he worked with. That's right.
Okay.
And Welch's name was there. Welch's name was picked up by a Greek newspaper that published it. The newspaper no longer exists, and I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, they published the name, and they published the address. And when Welch first moved, he came from Chile. And when he first moved to Greece...
Chile or Peru? Chile or Peru?
Peru, thank you. Yeah.
Ah,
He came from Peru.
Okay.
Thank you. And they asked him if he wanted to move to a different house. He said no, this was a beautiful house. The embassy had owned it for many years. He was going to move into that house. So the information was easy to find. People knew where the CIA station chief lived. The information was up there. And I'll tell you, the crazy thing is, the American embassy still owns that house. that the Marine officer, or not, the Marines who work in the embassy all live in that house. And on the day that I moved to Athens, they said, we're going to put you in Nordine's house in Kifisyan. I said, absolutely not. They said, it's a beautiful house, and we own it. They said, they found his head on the roof of the house next door. And you want me to move into that house?
It's a haunted house.
Absolutely not.
But you don't think that, okay, it was not of foreign secret services, I don't know. But it looks like they were making contracts. And I will tell you something someone told me here in Greece. Okay, maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. I believe that there was no reason to lie to me, but he told me the day that we killed Bakoyannis, the assassinated Bakoyannis, Bakoyannis gave a phone call to her secretary, that he's gonna pass by office instead to go straight to the link to take an envelope. So the next day, from the Greek intelligence services, they heard the phone call. So they thought, who could know that he will pass from his office and not go straight to the bullet? Who had the ability to hear him and the same time, real time, because at that time they didn't have the ability to intercept the call in real time. They was taking the tapes the next day you're thinking, all right, how did they know? And they placed who was, I don't know. And this is.
But don't forget too that one of the things that Νοέμβρη was very, very good at was long-term surveillance. They would follow people for a month or longer.
But this means an organization with 100 people. It's not a matter of one or two.
Oh no, I know, I get it. But they were very good at being able to change their plans quickly. And to drop plans. We got a call when I was in Greece in 1999. The American ambassador was Nicholas Byrne.
Yeah.
Byrne got a call from one of the shipping family, and he said, "I got big olive, and I want your help." So several of us met with him in his colon, and I'm being followed. I see the same man watching my apartment. I followed my car. So we took all the information and we said, you should be Greek and stay away for 4, 5, 6 weeks. So we took the information, we gave it to Abe, and we gave it to the Hellenic, and he left for Switzerland. He stayed in Switzerland for 6 weeks. The license plates that he got were all stolen, all of them. And we were never able to find people that were doing this thing. But we were convinced that this was they were going to kill him. It was just alert to it.
Yeah, of course, I understand.
And it saved him. Now, what they did with Bakoyannis, they hit him in the lobby of the apartment building in Botanaki, and then they went over the hill into Exarchia. There's such chaos at the time. Even though he wasn't supposed to be there at that time, he normally wouldn't be there at that time. They were used to people being aware of their surroundings and changing their plans, and then adjusting to the change.
Isn't that, John? Isn't that huge? It is not a matter of 5, 6, 7 people. It is something that has this whole organization being expertized, being trained.
Oh no! You'd be surprised. when I was doing surveillance at the CIA, we never had more than 60. Never. It's too alerting. I will tell you one story that I think you'll like. I was talking once to a French intelligence officer, and he told me that he was doing surveillance on an Iranian nuclear scientist.
Okay.
And he said this nuclear scientist was very well trained by the Iranian intelligence services. So all day long, as he's walking around Paris, he's going like this. So what's behind him? Steve. He said that the French had 50 people all walking toward him. And then they would loop around
and come again.
But he's so worried about who's behind him.
And he didn't see who is in front of him.
He never looked to see who's in front of him. He said they followed him everywhere. Everywhere. So there are ways to do it with a lot of people. There are ways to do it with just a few people. It's much easier if you only have 4 or 5
because the whole story of the 17 Νοέμβρη is very impressive. I mean, all these years being not in the dark, doing all these different kind of assassinations. I mean, they have killed any kind of people. They have killed military officers, they have killed diplomatic officers, they have killed political opponents, they have killed press owners. I mean, it is not, they have killed anything that they were targeting. I don't know. So I thought that, so you don't think that there were a contract between them and someone that was benefit from this kind of...
No, but there were contracts between them and other groups. There was cooperation with ΕΛΑ, and of course the connection between 17 Νοέμβρη and ΕΛΑ was Christos Tutuvis.
But he
was the only person that we were able to identify who moved from one group together. So Tutuvis was a bad guy, but there was cooperation with Carlos the Jackal.
With?
Carlos the Jackal.
Carlos the Jackal, yeah.
Yeah, there was cooperation with Carlos. There was cooperation with the Irish Republican Army. There was cooperation with the Libyan government, with the Palestinian factions, PLO, the Palestinian faction. But not much. We saw much more of that with ΕΛΑ. ΕΛΑ was very happy to reach out to different groups and do training together and cooperate. And
they were more open. I mean, after all, they were more more in activism, as I must say.
Yes.
Did they have any political affiliations?
We always believed that they did. And in the end, we never find any. But we always believed that there was some sort of a... We just could never...
You can vanish many things in the haze.
It's a fascinating story, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it's fascinating. It's fascinating because also it stands, let's say, we have, for example, till that time, till the trial of the 17 Νοέμβρη, we could understand what means political activism. Of course, you don't go and kill someone.
Yeah.
But it took also insight, like 2000 Patriot, 2001, your patriotic, how you call it? Patriot Act.
Yes.
So it took inside things that could do without harming others. You understand what I mean? Patriotic Act was very tight. I mean, what you want, freedom or security, whatever. So after the trial of, and during the trial of 17th November, things on political perspective have been getting tight and very easy stigmatizing you. And this is going even worse in our time, as I see it. And this is the reason that I wanted to ask you if, From your experience.
You know who you should talk to? Have you ever spoken to Brady Kiesling?
I have been exchanged emails with him about 2 years ago. 1 year ago, we have exchanged emails because I wanted. He has a huge archive of.
Huge. You know, I was saying I wanted to write a